We've got a history nugget. Adam Zern has our July 4th themed Lancaster local history nugget. Adam is the owner of Uncharted Lancaster and also on the board of the Historic Preservation Trust of Lancaster County. So, welcome, Adam, to the show.
Hi, Ben. Hi, Jeff. Thanks for having me here. It's great to be back. Greetings. My name is Adam Zern, founder of Uncharted Lancaster, and I'm here today with your local history nugget. With the approaching holiday, I wanted to share two Lancaster-related Independence Day stories. Now, ask any elementary student when the Declaration of Independence was signed, and they'll quickly tell you July 4th, 1776. Interestingly, news of the document's actual adoption did not reach Lancaster for several days. Remember, this is in a time before 24-hour news cable. Finally, on July 8th, 4 days later, the proclamation was formally read in front of the courthouse at Penn Square. Now, arguably, the man most instrumental with securing that independence was George Washington. Washington visited Lancaster 5 times during his life. The first was on June 4th, 1773. Records indicate that while here, Washington visited the Demuth Tobacco Shop, the oldest tobacco shop in the entire country, and made a purchase and likely met proprietor Johannes Demuth. However, Washington's most famous visit was on July 4th, 1791. Washington, now in his first term as president, was touring southern and eastern states. He came to Lancaster via York on Sunday, July 3rd, to visit his old friend and military aide, Adjutant General Edward Hand, at Rock Hill. Hand and other Lancaster dignitaries met Washington at Wright's Ferry, now Columbia, to escort the president to Lancaster. The president's coach arrived at the edge of the city at around 6 p.m. As was Washington's habit, he exited his coach and entered Lancaster on horseback, wearing his traditional blue and buff uniform. The president was greeted with ringing church bells, cheering crowds, waving flags, and firing cannons. Washington spent the night at the White Swan Hotel, located where the Lancaster Marriott at Penn Square now sits today. The following morning, Washington walked the streets of Lancaster and enjoyed afternoon tea with Edward Hand and his wife at Rock Ford, which you can still visit today. Washington then spent the evening at an elaborate dinner held in his honor at the courthouse. 15 toasts were made, the final one being to the illustrious President of the United States. Early the next morning, Washington continued his journey to Philadelphia. Interesting side note, partially being on Washington's early departure, everywhere he went, people were constantly greeting him with parades and bands and firing cannons, and he actually found it real difficult to get anywhere and very time consuming. So he had a habit of telling folks he was going to leave at 9 and then leave at 5 in the morning, or he'd be in town at 6 and get there at 5, just so he didn't have to deal with the crowds and all the hoopla, involved with all of that. But that's been your local history nugget. You can find me online at Uncharted Lancaster to learn more fascinating local history. Back to you, Ben and Jeff.
Well, Adam, that was really pretty incredible little rundown of local history to see Washington. I actually thought, I'm going to go a little bit off script here, if that's all right. I'm going to surprise Ben and our producers. Producers are thinking, oh boy, what's going on now? So I just looked up on my phone. So we all know we're celebrating this weekend the birth, our Declaration of Independence, the birth of our nation, so to say. I just looked up because I kind of was in my head a couple dates. Our Constitution was ratified June 21st, 1788. So 1776 to 1788, 12 years, folks like Washington, Jefferson, Adams, Hancock, others really kind of looked to frame what our nation would be. And, they may be imperfect men. They were men of their time. And, but what they gave us in the Constitution, I think, is really what we more should be celebrating this weekend than anything. Because it does represent freedom, it does represent liberty, it does represent happiness. And I hope you all can enjoy that, what it stands for, what it means for our nation, what it means for us. I joined us, as you would say, in September of 19 as a U.S. citizen. Some of you may know, if you know me personally, hi, Mom, watching this show. If you know me personally, I was born in Canada, moved to Reamstown when I was 10. So, 32 of my 42 years on this earth have been here in the United States, and formalized that September of 2019. I would urge you to look up the oath of allegiance that anybody would take at a naturalization ceremony, and think about that this weekend, because think about that in light of how you give back to your community, how you give back to those around you. It's really kind of one of the reasons why we do this show, because we believe so much in supporting the community that does support us. So yeah, I mean, that's what this weekend's about. It is about the birth of our nation, but it also took 12 years, nearly 12 years, 12 full years, to kind of bring forth the protections, the liberties, the freedoms that we have today. And I think this weekend, this year in 2021, it's kind of a really nice little touch to celebrate those freedoms that we have.
Mm-hmm.
So
absolutely.
So yeah, sorry for going off script there, everybody,
No,
but
cool.
I thought it made sense in light of what Adam shared there. And we always love Adam. Adam brings a lot of passion to the show and for what he does.
Yeah.
So check him out at unchartedlancaster.com.
Yeah, Uncharted Lancaster is full of fun Lancaster-themed adventures. It's really neat.
Yeah.
Really neat what he's
Yeah.
put together there.
Yeah.
Remember, this show is also available as a podcast. You can get all the links at lancasterconnects.com. Please like and share the video. Leave a comment. Tell a friend about the show. The more people that know about the show, the better for us and the community.